One of the most important ways to define ourselves as reading teachers is by talking about what we do and why we do it. By observing other educators in the field, we're able to ask ourselves what we do and why we do it. Another way to truly define ourselves as teachers of reading is through careful self-examination and thoughtful reflection. The following teachers come from various backgrounds. They've taught reading in very different situations to very different socioeconomic groups and demographics. In all likelihood, these teachers have developed their own philosophies about reading instruction, originally based in theory, but when put into practice, have developed what works for them. These educators share their beliefs, practices, and experiences with us here with respect to the 5 components of a strong reading program. The first educator, Sherry Curry, is a seasoned first grade teacher for over 15 years. She's a firm believer in deliberate instruction in reading based upon the developmental readiness of her students. She's going to share her strengths as a reading educator for the primary grades, and she'll discuss a few different strategies she uses with her students who are learning to read in these formative years. Our second educator, Lillian Harmon, is a former elementary school reading teacher, a middle school reading coach, and she currently serves as a curriculum support specialist for the Educational Transformation Office for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Her experience as an elementary reading teacher helped provide her with the critical knowledge of how to teach reading, which many middle school teachers lack. Her knowledge of the big 5 components of reading helped her form a team of teachers at the middle school level who teach struggling readers in order to close their gap and make them measurable gains in their reading achievement. The last educator is Beth Caterina. She's a 6th grade reading teacher of ESOL students. Ms. Caterina's students come from predominantly Hispanic backgrounds with little or no English knowledge. Ms. Caterina is going to discuss a variety of strategies that she has found successful in assisting her non-native English-speaking students in helping them acquire the language as well as learning how to read English. Her firm grasp of the importance of the 5 components in reading has proven to be effective with respect to teaching both her native speakers and non-native speaking students.
I feel confident in making fluency and comprehension progress, as well as instilling that they love to read when they leave my class. Stronger at fluency by, I have 1,000 sight words that we tackle throughout the year. A lot of practice, a lot of collaborative with peers and working together as partners. I usually go to the student. I'll point out the beginning of the word, like the phonetical sound of the first letter.
Right.
And I'll just kind of between him and I, okay, what's that? What's that letter? What's that sound? If he's having trouble with the specific word, we will also go back to the sentence before, and I'll say, so what do you, and we'll read that together, and I'll say, so what do you think that word is? And usually then it's not a problem. I tell you, in my first grade classroom, I love small group learning. I love putting them into learning centers. For instance, in my classroom, I have a library, I have a listening center, I have a phonics center, I have a spelling word work center, and then also I put them into partners.
Okay.
And so there's just always this constant moving and activities while I'm with small groups.
What do they do at a listening center?
They listen to a book on tape, the
Okay.
old-fashioned tape, which I have about 1,000. You know what? At my level, I immerse them in reading. I have math books, science books, social studies books, research books. I have so they can go to any topic that interests them. It's just it's a fun, wonderful, immersed atmosphere. I don't always agree with that, like in upper grades, but at my level, I think it's pretty much essential, and especially with my population, I have ESOL students, So, you know, I'm really shocked at how much simple words they really don't know. They'll say, oh yeah, I know that word, and I say, okay, you know, can you use it in a sentence? And then that's it. Then it's gone. Then they're like, no, they can't. And I'm like, okay, well, it's okay. Let me explain it to you. And then I do an example.
Well, if I'm having students read orally, the best thing to do before that is to model the process, show them how to best read, and if that child makes a mistake afterwards, I will correct it right then and there. Because oftentimes some of my colleagues, and I was guilty of that in the past too, we don't correct it, we just keep it going because we want to read and get through the passage, but it's like the child, if they say, for example, if they read the word read and they say read instead, okay, we want to make sure that we correct it right then, because if not, that child's going to associate R-E-A-D all the time with R-E-D.
Okay.
So I make sure to correct it right then and there. With my ESOL students, you have to model the process. So I try to incorporate a lot of oral reading on my part, in which I engage in either closed read or finish the sentence, or, you know, echo or call read. And I try to model the process with my level 3 and 4 ESOL students. We do it together. I have them work with their peers, so I always group them accordingly. You know, one ESOL level 3 or 4 child, and then we have the remaining other levels 1 and 2, especially in a grade level class or what have you. So I have that child model that to their peers. But of course, for me to do that, I need to model it to them.
Of course.
So of course, you know, you have your fluency strategies, your call reading, your echo reading, closed reading. I do a lot with them.
By reflecting on our own practice as reading teachers and taking the time to examine and observe other educators in the field, we become stronger at our own mastery of reading instruction. As these teachers have shared with us their practices and beliefs regarding reading instruction, they discussed what worked for them and didn't work for them in a classroom setting. In the process, we're able to see the invaluable worth of the 5 components of a strong reading program. Clearly, teacher discretion is a critical component as well to a strong reading program and is oftentimes overlooked as an important necessity to reading. These teachers are clearly masters of their domain with respect to reading instruction, and although their conceptions and ideas regarding the ways that reading should be delivered to students may vary, their overall philosophies and beliefs are closely related, and they've proven to be effective for the benefit of their students.